Hello, everyone. There's been a quiet, yet deeply controversial development in one of the most high-profile criminal cases of the past decade, one involving powerful people, global headlines, and countless survivors still fighting for justice. That development? Ghislaine Maxwell has been moved from a high-security federal prison in Florida to a minimum security camp in Texas. Now, on the surface, that might not seem shocking. After all, prison transfers happen every day. But when we look at the details, it raises massive red flags, because this move makes no sense under standard federal policy. Let's break it down. Ghislaine Maxwell was convicted in 2021 for her role in recruiting and grooming underage girls for the late Jeffrey Epstein, a billionaire financier who operated one of the most disturbing sex trafficking rings in recent U.S. history. Maxwell was sentenced to 20 years in prison for sex trafficking and related crimes. For a person serving that kind of sentence and labeled as a sex offender, the typical route is a long stay in a secure facility, away from the public eye, without any privileges. Yet Maxwell was recently transferred to federal prison Camp Bryan, a minimum security facility in Texas known for its more relaxed conditions. We're talking about a prison camp where inmates can spend time outdoors from 6 a.m. to as late as 9 p.m., where they can attend yoga and Pilates classes, watch movies, take part in arts and crafts, and live in shared pods rather than isolated cells. It's mostly designed for nonviolent white-collar offenders, not convicted sex traffickers. So what's going on here? According to a source inside the Bureau of Prisons, quoted by the New York Sun, this transfer was unusual. That's a diplomatic way of saying this move doesn't add up. Federal guidelines are very clear. If you're serving a sentence over 10 years, you don't qualify for a minimum security camp. If you're a sex offender, you're automatically disqualified. Maxwell checks both of those boxes, yet here she is in a much softer environment. So the question now being asked by journalists, legal experts, and survivors alike is this: is Ghislaine Maxwell cooperating with federal investigators? And if she is, what is she offering them in return? Let's zoom out. The Epstein scandal has always cast a long, dark shadow over the rich and powerful. Epstein's social circle included royalty, business moguls, and politicians, including, at one time, President Donald Trump. While Trump has publicly distanced himself from Epstein, especially since his arrest and death, questions continue to swirl around what he knew, who else was involved, and whether there's evidence in the unreleased Epstein files that could damage him politically or personally. Trump himself has made cryptic comments, stating, "I want everything released, I just don't want people to get hurt." But who exactly is he worried about? Himself? Friends? Political allies? That remains unclear. What is clear is this: the Department of Justice has been under immense pressure to unseal the Epstein files, documents that could potentially name other individuals involved in the trafficking operation or who were connected to Epstein's social network. Now, if Maxwell is indeed offering up names, documents, or details, it could explain why she's receiving what looks like favorable treatment. But here's where it becomes even more troubling. Some political commentators and MAGA-aligned podcasters, who were once loudly demanding justice in the Epstein case, have suddenly gone quiet. Even popular figures with large audiences have backed off the topic. Why? Some suggest they were told to stand down because pushing further would bring heat to Donald Trump. Others, like Joe Rogan, continue to question the narrative and demand accountability, but overall there's a noticeable shift: less noise, less outrage, less pressure. And that silence speaks volumes. Now let's not forget who this is really about: the survivors. Survivors of Epstein's abuse have been speaking out for years. They've relived their trauma in courtrooms and on national television. Many believed Maxwell's conviction was finally a step toward closure. Now, with her prison transfer and whispers of immunity deals or sentence reductions, they feel betrayed. One survivor advocate said it best: "Why would someone like Ghislaine Maxwell even be considered for a pardon or immunity? She played a central role in the trafficking and exploitation of young girls." And that brings us to one of the most tragic moments in this entire saga: the recent suicide of Virginia Giuffre, one of Epstein's most outspoken accusers. Her death shattered the community of survivors, many of whom saw her as a voice of strength and courage. In the aftermath, survivors have said they feel hopeless, defeated, and re-traumatized every time this case returns to the spotlight. One survivor said, "Every time we open our phones or turn on the TV, we're reminded of what we went through and what we're still going through. We don't know who this media circus is for anymore, but it's not for us." Many of them are not calling for more investigations or media coverage. They're simply asking for peace. They want the right to heal, in private, without being constantly reminded of their trauma. But here's the dilemma. If only Ghislaine Maxwell faces consequences, and no one else from Epstein's circle is investigated, was there ever real justice? That's why the call to release the full Epstein files is growing louder again. The public wants transparency. The survivors deserve it. Because if powerful men were protected, whether they were celebrities, CEOs, politicians, or princes, the truth still matters. This story isn't just about Ghislaine Maxwell's new prison or even about Donald Trump's name appearing in court documents. It's about a broken system, one that seems to protect power over victims, status over truth, and silence over accountability. So what's your take? Drop a comment below. Do you think Ghislaine Maxwell is cooperating with authorities? Should the Epstein files be fully unsealed? And how can we support the survivors, not just with words, but with action? Thanks for watching, and if you found this breakdown helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with someone who cares about truth and justice. Until next time, stay informed and stay strong.